Sean, thanks a lot. And what a difference a week can make, right? Well, for Dabo Swinney, he was just about as excited as Charlie Strong a week ago when they knocked off Notre Dame. Can he keep it going against Georgia Tech? When we come back, we'll get you ready for that one.
Last week, a 1,000-year storm devastated the state of South Carolina. But Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers were determined to bring life to Death Valley. After jumping out to a huge lead, the Tigers withstood a furious comeback by the Irish, capped by a stop for the ages. And a new battle cry was born.
What I told them tonight was, listen, we give you scholarships, we give you, stipends and meals and a place to live. We give you nice uniforms. I can't give you guts, and I can't give you heart. And tonight, hey, it was BYOG, bring your own guts.
You are watching the ACC on ESPN. Georgia Tech has made the 2-hour drive up I-85 to the Palmetto State to take on the undefeated and 6th-ranked Clemson Tigers. Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Patrick, Ed Cunningham. It's great to have you with us. Dr. Jerry Punch will join us shortly. Georgia Tech is off to a 2-3 start. The coaches say they have found ways to lose games instead of finding ways to win them. But historically, they have been very good against Clemson, including the win last year.
And unbelievably, it's raining again, like it was last week against Notre Dame. So the ground game will be essential. And for Paul Johnson, the good news is he still has a great quarterback. The bad news is they've lost 7 running backs since last spring. But for Paul Johnson, it really has been about the development of Justin Thomas, the guy who was second-team All-ACC last year, played brilliantly in that win against Clemson. The big key for Thomas, obviously, you have to be a good runner in the triple option. He's very good in space. This is the best thrower by far that Paul Johnson has had. And the good news for Georgia Tech, they get Michael Summers back today, a receiver they've been missing for the last 2 games. Summer gives them an outside option they haven't had. And if they can throw and get long throws over the top, it becomes very difficult to bring more people down to defend this run.
Here come the Tigers in front of another sellout crowd, 81,500 fans as they look for their 13th straight win in Death Valley. Before they come, they rub Howard's Rock on the hill. Deshaun Watson leading his offense down the hill. You know, last week, in the most dramatic fashion than you could possibly imagine, the Clemson Tigers, in all that rain with all these people, came back to beat Notre Dame, a game that had been their focal point for so very long. And in doing so, with that upset win over Notre Dame, some people say it wasn't an upset. But in that win over Notre Dame, they vaulted to number 6 in the polls and certainly entered the conversation of the national championship picture.
And you have to put them in there because of Deshaun Watson. It became the running game for Watson that was great last week. But remember, Watson hurt his knee against Georgia Tech last year in a game that they lost. He ended up having to have surgery. He broke his hand against Louisville last year and needed some surgery. So I don't expect they'll run him as much, even though we're in rain again, as they did against Notre Dame. Needed that for the big win.
All right, Ed, when we come back, Dr. Jerry Punch will join us, followed by the kickoff from Death Valley. We all know Jerry Punch as a reporter and a medical doctor, but once upon a time he had another job. Option quarterback at NC State under Lou Holtz. Doc, how about some insight for today?
Thanks, Mike, and hello, everybody. You know, folks, Paul Johnson's spread option attack has a very few simple goals. One is time of possession. Now, if he can go on an 8 or 10 play drive and take 6 or 8 minutes off the clock and score, then you limit your opponent's possession. Today, that means keeping Deshaun Watson and company's offense off the field. Secondly, 3 yards of play. Do the math. That means the fourth down conversions are simple. And thirdly, try to lull them to sleep when they lose their contain and lose their discipline. Then you beat them on the backside up the middle for a big play. Offense is very simple, but if run effectively, it is hard to stop. Mike?
All right, Jerry, and we'll refer to those mandates during the ball game. Harrison Butker kicks off. He has been a very good kickoff man this year, and he knocks this one out of the back of the end zone. Georgia Tech had won the toss and deferred, so Clemson has the chance to get the ball first. And Deshaun Watson will bring on the Clemson offense. Last week against Notre Dame in that downpour, he rushed for a career-high 93 yards. He's thrown the ball exceptionally well this season. 11th in the country, 69% completion rate. Last season at Georgia Tech, this was the game when he tore his ACL.
Ended up practicing the next week. They say he tore it even more completely in that practice. Played against South Carolina at the end of the year, but then had surgery right before the bowl.
Wayne Gallman tosses the ball back to Ray McLeod, and McLeod trips up as he crossed the 30. Nice block by Deshaun Watson after he handed it off.
I'm not sure Patrick Gamble, the defensive tackle that Deshaun Watson blocks as he comes back on this reverse, was quite ready for that. Excuse me, that was Roderick Brook-Chungan, the defensive end that he knocked down.
They were about 2 yards shy of a first down, and they are now about a yard shy of a first down. Sharon Peak got the ball on the perimeter.
Good inside-outside pursuit. Adam Gotsis, who was ejected in the first half against North Carolina for targeting back. He's the best inside player for Georgia Tech on defense.
3rd and a yard. Gallman, first down and much more. Got a block on the outside, and Gallman is gone. 66 yards for a touchdown. Sharon Peak threw an awesome block on the outside to get rid of the last defender. Third and 1 for 66 yards. Bugle for the point after. And Clemson takes a minute and 5 seconds to grab a 7-0 lead as Gallman goes 66 untouched for the game's first score. They're still celebrating that long touchdown run by Wayne Gallman, and why not? It was a beauty. Perfectly blocked to get him outside. Then he used his speed. Lathrop will kick off. The return by Jamal Golden.
Go back to that touchdown. Tyler Marcordes, the linebacker, is lined up in the gap he's supposed to be lined up in. As he starts to move, you can see he moves back to the middle. Now watch the block by Hyatt, the true freshman, and then the tight end Leggett as they seal inside. And Marcordes can't get back over the top. And then Sharon Peak right here, all 6'3", 215 pounds against DJ White's 5'11", 185, says, no, you're not going to get to the outside for this one. Terrific blocking downfield, point of attack, a little misalignment defensively.
Thomas runs away from pressure, wants to throw a deep out. and it looked like he overthrew that one on purpose, intended for Ricky June. Let's take a look at Justin Thomas. 13-6 as a starter under Paul Johnson, running this option offense. Last year set school records at Georgia Tech for rushing yards and touchdowns as a quarterback. This year, he has struggled a little bit with the passing game, hitting only 46% of his throws. Going to have to do better than that today to beat this talented but young Clemson defense. Thomas on the keeper, fakes the dive play, gets about 3 before he is thrown back. This Clemson defense a year ago was number 1 in the country. They allowed only 16.7 points a game. This year, they're allowing 14.8 points a game with almost nobody back.
A bunch of guys to the NFL, Grady Jarrett, Vic Beasley, but Brent Venables, and starting with the head coach, Dabo Swinney, they've done a terrific job of not only recruiting top 10, top 15 every year, but also developing on defense. Since the takeover of Venables in 2012, they're really good in the front line, not as deep as they were last year, but a bunch of guys who've played a lot of ball.
Rolling to Shaq Lawson's side. Thomas stops, throws back against the grain, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Tankersley. Cordray Tankersley on the underthrown pass returns it 10 yards. Thomas missed his first throw badly, and worse, he was way short with this one.
Yeah, and just kind of, this is not what Georgia Tech wants to be doing. They don't want to be in third and long and having to do drop-back passes. But as Tankersley, who's just lined up out here, squatting down and reading everything that's going on, and as the ball is thrown, there's 2 receivers in the same spot. Actually, there are 3 receivers for Georgia Tech in the same spot. So a lot of orange jerseys, and the quarterback never looked anybody off.
And when you have that many guys, as here goes Gallman again, breaking tackles Gallman to the 32. When you have 3 receivers that are that close, the ball has no chance to get through.
Yeah, there was either a blown assignment there or that ball should have been thrown a little bit earlier from Justin Thomas. Again, not the strength of what they do. Georgia Tech lost 2 receivers that went on to the NFL last year. And so they just don't have that part of their game.
Gallman goes in motion. Pass complete to Sharon Peak, wide open, down inside the 10-yard line. 21 yards. P.J. Davis, the middle linebacker, had to make the stop.
And here goes Clemson super fast. They've got Georgia Tech on their heels, obviously.
Gallman. They really like him, but they would like to see him get his pad level down. He runs so upright, he takes a lot of shots.
You talk about confidence. The offensive line, which was a huge question mark coming into the season, played against Notre Dame last week as well as they could play. It wasn't pretty, but this guy is starting to get so much confidence running the ball. Dabo Swinney said yesterday he literally feels like he can't be tackled right now. And with an offensive line that's growing into itself, we mentioned a true freshman to tackle, He's really been a fire hydrant plug for them in the middle.
Fade overthrown. It'll be 3rd down and goal. You talked about that offensive line. With the injury to Ryan Norton, who was the returning center, there are no returning starters on this line. That's unheard of to have that and be able to win.
And it's not pretty all the time, but Tony Elliott, the play caller, says, co-offensive coordinator, as long as they're getting on their assignments, which they have been, that's Jay Guillermo, who had a foot injury last year, filling in for Norton. But as long as they get their guys, we have people that can score.
Everybody split out, including the tight end Leggett. Plenty of time to throw back of the end zone. Sharon Peak couldn't hold it. Boy, he was open. And this is a kid who is loving life right now because he only played 2 games combined, or 9 games combined in the last 2 years because of injury.
And had that great block. That's a catch you got to make. Now, I'm not so sure that may not have been tipped by Jamal Golden. Nope. Just lost concentration. That's a tough drop there.
Hugel, the redshirt freshman, has hit 5 of 7 so far this year. This is a chip shot from about 21 yards. Good snap, good hold, good kick. Clemson has had no problems with the Georgia Tech defense. They take advantage of a turnover to build it to 10-0.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Dabo Swinney dancing after last week's victory over Notre Dame. At least he's a better dancer than I am, although that is not much of a compliment.
Well, after that big win over a top 10 team, you can understand the BYOG Bring Your Own Guts was legendary and the dancing better. But I understand in his contract he actually has a D incentive to dancing. That was a $5,000 fine. Any dancing caught on video and shown publicly cost Swinney $5,000, I guess.
Jamal Golden on the return from the 6. And he is swallowed up at the 16-yard line. And all at once, this game has really turned against Georgia Tech. Let's check in with Cassidy Hubbard. Cassidy.
Hi, Mike. We have an injury update. If your weekend hard turn away on the first play of the game, Nick Chubb's left leg buckles. He was helped off the field and is being attended to on the sidelines. Needless to say, a tough injury for the Bulldogs, Mike.
Kid was so good.
Oh, what a shame. What an absolute shame.
Oh, don't want to see that one again. Georgia Tech has to start from the 16. The first thing in this offense is the dive play, and they give it to Marcus Marshall. Flag is down.
When that's the first option of the triple read is to what Georgia Tech calls the B-back or the fullback in most offenses. They get a lot of carries because of the defensive tackle, which is kind of a work in progress for Clemson right now. DJ Reader, who was a really terrific player, has taken a leave of absence from the team. They're not sure he's going to come back for personal reasons. They got a good game out of Carlos Watkins, of course, who had the great tackle on the two-point conversion. But if they don't stop that B-back, if that first dive is getting 3 to 5 yards per carry, Georgia Tech can wear you out. It opens up the passing game, and it opens up the perimeter run game. That was the biggest concern for Venables.
Illegal chop block on the offense, number 37, half a distance to the goal, first down.
And Paul Johnson is livid.
Well,
a chop block, of course, is when one man is engaged, a second blocker cannot come in and cut him.
And this was clearly a chop block by the freshman. Watch the left side of your screen as the blocker comes through 37, Landis Davis. The defender is already locked up with the center, Freddie Burden. So that was an easy call. Not quite sure what Paul Johnson had in mind. The young running back, though, did not expect the center to be there, obviously.
Same play, same carry up to about the 14-yard line from Marcus Marshall, who is a true freshman, and there are an awful lot of those playing for Georgia Tech, including some walk-ons who have had significant playing time. 13 true freshmen started the season. 14 different guys have scored a touchdown, and the A-backs, who are the wings, they have lost 7. Count it. 7 A-backs to injury.
And those are the key guys on the edge who set the blocks. They also have to understand when not to cut block if someone's engaged, so they're down to the bottom of their roster. And for a place like Georgia Tech, Mike, Paul Johnson's done a nice job recruiting to his system. He is the only coach in the Power 5 of all the Power 5 conferences that runs a true option, veer option, where the offensive line fires out low, occasionally cut blocks on the backside. But when you go that thin, I don't care if you're the University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, Alabama, you go down 7 players at a position that's that key to your offense, and you're going to have trouble.
3rd and 7, the last kind of situation Georgia Tech wants to be in. For them, it is still a running down and a keeper for Justin Thomas. And that tells you how much they do not respect Georgia Tech's passing game, that they can have that many guys playing the run on 3rd and 7.
With the weather the way it is, they've already thrown an interception. I think Brent Venables felt very safe about this. What a terrific job by Travis Blanks and also B.J. Goodson. 2 guys who were down in the depth a little bit. Blanks, the guy who's been fighting back from an ACL tear from bowl practice last year that he injured earlier in the year. And these are the guys that filled in. Stephon Anthony to the NFL. We started mentioning some of those guys, NFL guys. These top-level guys who played a lot of ball last year.
Rodwell gets a great bounce on the punt, goes all the way to the 22-yard line. A 59-yard kick for Ryan Rodwell. They really needed it, and there is a flag down on the play at the 41. Tonight on ABC, Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo. Number 12, Florida State against cross-state rival, Miami, 8 Eastern on ABC. Interesting if it was crosstown, it'd be Florida A&M, wouldn't it?
It's actually up and over from Miami to Tallahassee.
Seminoles have won the last 5 in that series. And look at this.
Boy,
now they're looking at Justin Thomas.
He looked uncomfortable. His face is grimacing. The medical staff, they didn't give him attention. They weren't pulling or prodding or anything. So maybe just a bang up. But he did not look comfortable there for a couple of moments on the sideline. And Georgia Tech fans will say this is the understatement of the season. They can't lose number 5. It's all they have offensively. It's all they have.
Of course, they're not going to give up, but you can almost see, let's back up. If he goes out, let's back up the bus.
Well, yeah, because they've already lost Tim Byerly, their other quarterback who played quite a bit in short yardage and goal line. So you're down to Matthew Jordan, who was playing running back for a while this season because of all the losses and had to come back with the injury to Byerly. So things not good for Georgia Tech on that side of the route.
Watson and the offense take over at the 11-yard line. Gallman out to the 15. This Georgia Tech front has always been a little small compared to other major programs, but on the defensive end spots this year and at linebacker, boy, are they small.
The 230, 240-pound defensive end, 220-pound linebackers. For Ted Roof, the defensive coordinator, this is tough against an offense that can do so many things.
Fake to Gallman. They come out throwing, complete the pass to the tight end Jordan Leggett. And the coaches say we have to find a way to get him more involved in the offense. He's so good, but then the problem is you have a lot of guys who are so good in the offense.
Yeah, there's Ted Roof. We were talking to him. He's like, Leggett's good. Peak, they're getting him more involved. We haven't even really seen Artavis Scott, who was a superstar in the first half against Notre Dame last week. Ray McLeod, a true freshman. They haven't even really taken the training wheels off yet, but is apparently incredibly good with the ball in his hands.
McLeod in motion. He'll get it here. Lost the ball. This is something Georgia Tech desperately needs, a turnover deep in Clemson territory. No signal yet from the officials. All the Tech players are saying they have it, and they do. Talk about something they had to have.
Tony Elliott, the play caller, said we wanted to get Ray McLeod involved. I just mentioned he's a guy they really want to get in, and he goes into the running back, and he runs into his own man, Stanton Feckinger, and the ball pops out. That is a young player mistake. That ball should be up way high on his chest. Instead, it's down by his hip. Should be up across that number 3, and a huge turnover for Clemson.
Austin Bryant recovered the ball. Option to the outside. Nowhere to go. Look at that defense swarm. Holy cow. Flying up from his safety spot, J-Ron Curse.
Georgia Tech has, we expected maybe Broderick Snoddy, the A-back, running back, to come back for Georgia Tech, who broke his hand a couple of weeks ago, but he's not able to play. Georgia Tech does not have the speed at A-back, those attacking perimeter players, to get to the outside. This is a lot to ask Justin Thomas. I think they have to continue to work the inside runs to the B-back, and if you are going to run the option, make it shorter, not as wide, because right now there's 3 or 4 defenders waiting for him.
Clemson crowding the line. Thomas going for the end zone. It's a jump ball and batted away. Mackenzie Alexander, if you want to pick on him, you're picking on the wrong guy. When he covered Will Fuller last week, he gave up 1 reception.
And for Mackenzie Alexander, this is a ball that is thrown late, so he's got great position the whole way, but this ball just needs to be thrown a little bit earlier. Instead, it becomes a jump ball situation. Alexander with good long arms, terrific practicer, and if you're going to defend Georgia Tech, guys on the outside have to win one-on-ones. That looked like a big win for Clemson.
Last year, Alexander had more snaps than any freshman in Clemson history, and he did it at the corner position.
And Clemson did not like the fact that Jaron Kearse, the safety, had to walk out to that inside receiver.
Timeout.
I think that Brett Venables was expecting another run formation. Georgia Tech came out in a rare passing formation and said, I've got the wrong personnel in. But let's see if Georgia Tech now changes the formation and personnel when they come back out.
Celebrating its 11th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating University General Scholarship Fund for each field goal and extra point kick. To date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds.
If you're Georgia Tech right now, you have to be thinking 7 points, not 3. You're not. Clemson's going to score. It feels like 40 or 50 today. So I think 3rd and 12, you don't necessarily have to go for it all. You get to 4th and inside 5. I don't think you're sending out Butker, the kicker. This is a game where it's got to be 7, or you're not going to be able to keep up kicking threes.
You know, I would normally agree with you wholeheartedly.
Some momentum.
But anything. Yeah. I mean, it has started so badly.
Yeah, to put some points on, it'd only be down 7.
Exactly. Yeah.
4th and 2, I bet you he goes for it, though.
Oh, absolutely. This is a 4th down, I'm going for it machine. Thomas, 5-man rush, has time, throws sideline, too high. Now 4th and 10. It's a tough call to go for it on 4th and 10.
Bring out your kicker, and Butker's had a nice year. He was 0 for 2 against Notre Dame. Of course, both these teams played Notre Dame, Georgia Tech 3 weeks ago in a loss. Ended up taking it right down to the end, but Butker had a tough day then, but he's been perfect since. Plenty of leg.
This will be a 39-yard try to get Tech on the board. They could use any kind of a lift. They got the turnover, and they got 3 points out of it. We're in Death Valley, where Clemson's won 12 in a row. They've got a leg up on number 13. That's Clemson after last week's win over Notre Dame. This was yesterday. It was just gorgeous down here. The sun made an infrequent visit. Everybody was happy about that. Now it's raining again in the state that just can't take anymore.
Of course, a lot of thoughts with people down in Columbia that are still trying to dig out a lot of the damage that happened through that torrential downpour last weekend.
3 yards deep, and they'll bring it out to about the 22-yard line. Artavis Scott, and a chance to check in with Cassidy Hubbard.
All right, Mike, let's check out this Buffalo Wild Wings wild play on the opening kickoff. J.U. Chesson goes 96 yards to the house, and after an NU 3-and-out, Michigan tacked down another touchdown. The Wolverines have a streak of 73 unanswered points in over 2 games. 14-0 Michigan right now.
Jim Harbaugh hasn't made much of a difference, has he?
Yeah, but let's see if he gets past year 3. He tends to pull the ripcord pretty quickly.
I think he's pretty happy where he is right now.
Well, they had talent. We saw them last year. Defensively, they were one of the best groups we saw. And you knew he'd make them better on offense.
That looked like a planned draw. Deshaun Watson took off, got to the 30, and we check in with Jerry Punch.
Mike, Georgia Tech can ill afford any more injuries, but they've got one. Free safety Damon Smith, the 5th-year senior, out with a leg injury right now. And that means the freshman A.J. Gray in his spot.
Just another freshman, Jerry. They just keep trotting them out no matter what. Maybe energized by that turnover and field goal. Tech's offense swarming on the run. Adam Gotts is the first guy to get there. He's good, and there's Gray. And 6'1", 212, a freshman.
And if you are Clemson, you're saying, where's the guy in the really, really white jersey? He's the safety to the right. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I would be making sure I knew where this guy was.
Watson with the quick out. And a nice catch by Leggett, the tight end. He's one of those guys who always makes hand catches and just seems to scoop the ball into his body.
Guys that are that big, we're starting to see bodies like that used more and more in these spread offenses in unique ways. It's awfully fun.
Watson out to the flank, complete to Artavis Scott. Had almost 1,000 yards a year ago.
And that time Leggett's out there as a receiver blocking in front of Scott. So you take that 250-pound body, he's athletic enough to go out and receive, but he's also now blocking DJ White, 190-pound corner, on an easy throw and catch.
Watson with time, hit as he throws. Beautiful catch by Hunter Renfrow, 18 yards. Renfrow is a walk-on, a redshirt freshman who they are really excited about. And Adam Gotsis is showing us why he's the best defender along the front seven for Georgia Tech. He got to Watson again, but not quite before he threw the ball. Play action fake by the quarterback. He'll pick up about 3.
Well, this cut right here had to make Clemson fans a little leery. It was a cut almost exactly like this last year against Georgia Tech. You see the heavy left knee brace. That cut right there on this exact type of run against Georgia Tech last year was when his knee buckled, which then led to, after the South Carolina game, him having to have surgery and not being able to play in the win over Oklahoma in the Russell Athletic Bowl. But that had to make Clemson fans feel good that survived that cut.
Watson, again, the quick throw. Travion Thompson will make this catch.
And it was one of those non-contact, just following the lead blocker, and right there on that cut, you saw on the left foot right there, and then he comes up and buckles and goes down. Practiced the next week, tweaked it again. Rehab, did not play against Georgia State, came back and led the big win against South Carolina, kind of got that monkey off their back, and then decided to have surgery after that game.
Inside the 5, touchdown, Artavis Scott. And Scott is down in the end zone, took a shot at the 5. Jamal Golden drilled him, and then he got hit again at the 1.
And looked very similar to the touchdown Scott had last week against Notre Dame.
Knees down.
He's down, so a little short. But remember, Scott split 2 defenders on a throw and scored to get things going for Clemson. And that was a clean shoulder hit by Jamal Golden. He's not leading with his head. He's not going to the head-neck area. It's body to body, but that could not have felt good, and I would be shocked if that's not what has him down. Let's hope he's okay. This is a very dynamic player. He's so good with the ball in his hands, and really terrific student off the field, has really developed a nice bond with Deshaun Watson. They've become good pals. Not a touchdown, but down on the 1. And the good news is that Watson is up and running off on his own power. Clemson's one of the programs that's kind of leading the way with guys early enrollees. They had, I think, 15 of their class this year came in for spring practice. And it's really allowed these guys to excel. Rulings confirmed on the replay review. But what it's allowed a lot of guys like Scott to do is get ahead in the classroom as well as on the field. Sure. So that when so many freshmen now are playing, it's a new wave in college football, but allows these guys to get ahead two semesters potentially and understand how much work it takes to play the game. And this is a young man who last year was just sensational for a true freshman because of that experience.
Deshaun Watson has been perfect on this drive. 5 out of 5, 68 yards. Gallman is his setback. Leggett's the motion man. And movement up front.
Well, they got a timeout before the delay.
Before the delay of game, timeout, Clemson, their second, 30-second timeout.
So 3:29 to go first quarter. Clemson has already used 2 of its 3 allotted timeouts in the first half. The only thing that has stopped Clemson so far is the fumble. Every other time they've had the ball, they've just marched down the field. They'll catch a double tonight on ESPN. First at 7 Eastern, college football primetime presented by Hilton has Arkansas against number 8 Alabama. Then at 10, a huge Pac-12 battle. Unbeaten Cal, number 5 Utah. Both games on ESPN, also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
A lot of relation to this program with Alabama, of course. The head coach, Dabo Swinney, played wide receiver at Alabama, but he has built this program by studying what Nick Saban has done at Alabama. It's really impressive what Swinney and this staff and the support they get from the athletic department, the program that they've been able to build here at Clemson. It's always been a good program, but Swinney now has it tipping over to great. They're starting to beat the brand names, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Ohio State, LSU, Auburn, the teams that they've had to recruit against for years and years. They've always had to recruit against the best in the SEC. Now they're beating those teams on the field, which is starting to result in beating them in recruiting.
And they're willing to play them every year.
They always have one. They always have someone tough outside. This year it was Notre Dame.
Gallman. Second effort, are they going to give it to him? The line judge is coming in and marking it short.
I have a feeling it might be Wayne Gallman again on second down. Gallman stumbled. Good job, good penetration by Georgia Tech defensively. That was Gotsis, the defensive tackle we've been talking about, their best player up front, who got some penetration and had him stumble. But be shocked if this is in another number 9 run.
So with Gallman, touchdown.
Kind of looks like old school Clemson, doesn't it? They may be spread out, but when you have a guy like Gallman at 215 pounds running with the confidence he's running with, and an offensive line that it's patchwork, but they get the job done.
Eric McLean, the graduate student starting left guard at 315 pounds, got the big push up front as well. 10 plays, 80 yards. It took them only 4 minutes. And almost 200 yards in total offense so far for the Clemson Tigers. 17-3. The number 6 team in the country with the 2-touchdown lead. Back at Clemson, we're at 17-3. Ed, you mentioned the big-time teams they have played. Back in 2012, it was LSU in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. They beat them 25-24. They followed that up, rallying to beat Ohio State 40-35. Last December, they just clubbed Oklahoma 40-6. So whenever they have had the opportunity to take on a big-time program in a bowl they've won, they've scheduled big-time programs every year, and they've managed to win the majority of those. Georgia Tech will start from its own 28-yard line. Marcus Marshall and on the return for the Jackets.
After the 2012 season, things needed to change defensively, and they did. And it was last week it paid off big time. And this two-point conversion, Notre Dame decides to run to Sean Kaiser. They had scored a touchdown on this exact play Notre Dame had 3 plays earlier. Same defense lined up. They had flopped the personnel, though, and put Carlos Watkins over to that side, and Watkins fought off a double team, made the solo tackle. Great blow-up by Boulware. What a huge play.
Can Justin Thomas get anything going? You look at the Clemson defense, everybody is within 4 yards of the line of scrimmage. Everybody.
They have nothing on the edge right now to make them think that they have to run and get out on the edge. So these big bodies, this defense, when you look at the size of the defensive tackles, their linebackers, all of these guys are starting to look and feel at Clemson like NFL guys at every position. And if they can develop some depth in a schedule that I think is manageable on this defense, this will be a dangerous squad by the end of the season.
Now they spread them out a little bit, and J-Ron Curse just blew it up. And the only way you make a play like that is you have studied so hard all week, and you know what the keys are.
And Curse goes inside the block. Remember, Curse had to walk out earlier to cover. He went inside the block and reads it. That's just unfair. Curse, a 6'4" safety. This is not feeling athletically like it's an even match.
Hats off to Brent Venables. He has taken all these guys who didn't start a year ago, and he's turned them into a machine right now. Thomas on third and long, under pressure. These two defensive ends can rush the passer with anybody. Kevin Dodd, number 98, or Shaq Wilson, number 90 on the other end. They can make life miserable for a quarterback, and everybody in orange is doing that right now.
Right now, first down is the enemy of Paul Johnson. They're getting no... You know, Doc Punch said 3 yards per play, and if we go for it, that's 12. Well, right now,
they'd love 3 yards.
Yeah, first down is 0.3 yards, and you just can't be behind the sticks where they are. And
bad snap. The ball hits a Clemson player, goes into the end zone, still loose, and it goes out of bounds for a safety. Holy cow.
Well, and this is something they have had troubles with at Georgia Tech. They had a drop snap against North Carolina. They had a snap over the head of Rodwell against Duke. And here it goes again. Sean Tobin throws it right over the head of Rodwell. Rodwell does a good job like he did against USC. Kicks it, and the ball is almost caught there unbelievably by Jadar Johnson. But because it's a live ball and then goes out of the back of the end zone, ends up being a safety for Clemson. Just a disastrous year for Georgia Tech. After what for them last year was so magical. They went and beat Mississippi State in the Orange Bowl. They played so well on offense, and now just everything going wrong for them.
You got to give Rodwell credit. To be able to get away from the rush and get a kickoff anyway was great. And then it turned out the best way it possibly could for Georgia Tech.
It's a safety.
Yeah.
I think what you want to tell Rodwell in the future, though, take and run that ball out of the back of the end zone. Because if Clemson gets it right there, gets a touchdown, the momentum change. Now, you give up 2, you kick it away, and now you give up 9 points if they score again. So it really is a lose-lose, unfortunately, for that young man.
Paul Johnson said earlier this week, I told the players they dug a hole. Nobody's going to come and rescue you. You got to dig your own way out. The digging is not going well.
That was Shaq Lawson. You mentioned how good he is. He was working that left arm a little bit, so let's watch Lawson if he has some type of shoulder thing. He was moving it around like he may be sore. But
Scott and McLeod wait at the 20 for the free kick.
Right now, the other side of the hole for Georgia Tech feels like China. It feels like they need to just keep digging.
Yes. Scott hurdled the tackler and then got drilled for his trouble. Let's check in with Cassidy Hubbard.
Let's take a look at who's getting it done, presented by Wells Fargo. And Jalen Hurd did not get it done as he fumbles on the 4, but Gio Leonard-Floyd does as he recovers the football and goes 96 yards for the touchdown. Georgia up 7-0 in the first. Mike Ed.
It's remarkable for them to have that kind of comeback after the injury to Chubb.
Well, how bad have things been for Tennessee? You get down to the 1-yard line. Yeah, Butch Jones, 2 weeks in a row, they gave up double digits to lose in the fourth quarter. For Clemson, it's been the opposite against Louisville and Notre Dame. They gave up 10 double-digit leads, but they were able to hold on and win those games.
They'll lose yardage here with Kelly Bryant. They have a couple of packages for him. He is an outstanding runner, 6'3", 215, a true freshman. They want to get him in a few plays, give him some experience, and have him ready should anything go wrong with Watson. Nick Schuessler is another backup quarterback who they really like, but he's not as good a runner as this kid. Watson's back in, and we'll give to Zach Brooks, who is really an interesting story. If he had not injured a foot last year, he would have been the starting running back for Clemson. But the injury kept him out, and they're just now starting to get him back in the scheme of things.
And talking to him yesterday, they felt very comfortable with him getting back into that second string behind Gallman. Gallman, of course, clearly the number 1, but this guy's starting to give them quality depth. He was, as you said, going into last year, the starter. And when he got hurt, that actually let Gallman, who was a true freshman, move up the depth chart and end up having a good run at the end of the season.
That is the end of the quarter. And it's been all Clemson. 19-3. We'll be back after a word from your ABC stations. You're watching the ACC on ESPN. For whom the bell tolls, and right now it's tolling for Georgia Tech. An awful first quarter. They're down 19-3. The only good thing that happened for them was a turnover and a field goal off of that.
3rd and long, big down for Yellow Jackets.
Watson with time, floats it down the middle, complete to the 33-yard line. Jermon Hopper. And this is just too easy.
And Corey Griffin who was the safety, getting over a little bit late. We heard that Damon Smith is out, so they're having to rotate safeties. He was saying he thought the ball hit the ground. Clemson able to get a snap off. Not sure if it was reviewed. Here comes the review. The way that Corey Griffin got up and started slapping the ground made me think that potentially Hopper had dropped the ball.
Can I ask you an unfair technical question? Since the ball was already snapped, how can they blow the whistle? What's the rule on that?
Well, if the referee gets buzzed before the snap, it doesn't matter when the whistle comes.
So he can take a couple seconds. It doesn't matter.
Correct. Well, he's got control of the ball all the way through. Well, it did come out there when he hit the ground. Now, here's the question. It did come out. Here's the question. How many steps does he have this ball? It looked to me like Hopper may have had control of this before the hit by Griffin. Ball is secure. 1, 2, stands. Yeah, ruling confirmed. And good job by the officials to stop it. It was a fumble. The ball did come out. It looked like... No, he's down, so that's not even a fumble. So
no, because the ground can't.
So good job by the officials to stop it, and good job by Corey Griffin. Came up and was very demonstrative. I think it had an impact on me. It maybe had an impact on the replay crew.
And good job by you to answer my question,
which was
if the snap had already come.
The buzzer. Sorry.
Not a good job by you remembering my question.
I am getting older by the second.
First down at the 34. Another flanker screen. And another broken tackle, Ray McLeod.
You start to see that ability by McLeod in the open field, a true freshman receiver. Had the fumble earlier in the game. They know this young man's dynamic. They've just learned, of course, Chad Morris, the offensive coordinator who left to be the head coach at SMU. They just have such a way with getting the ball to so many different people.
Watson, his 9th straight completion, and this one is for a touchdown to Jordan Leggett, his 3rd touchdown grab of the season. And Watson looks like he's playing 7-on-7. There's nobody in the way of any of these throws.
And we've seen the ball get to so many different people. This time Leggett fakes like he's running out, and it's the inside route of Deion Kane that takes the safety out of the deep position. Wonderful job by Leggett. This 16's a good-looking athlete for that big, isn't he?
Ed, he doesn't even have to unload and drill these passes. He's just floating them, saying, here's a nice, easy ball for you to catch because you're wide open. It's all number 6, 26-3. Clemson over Georgia Tech. It's gotten ugly early in Clemson, South Carolina. 26-3. Tigers over the Jackets.
Oh, their paint's coming off in the rain. It's been nothing but rain, of course, in South Carolina. Bummer, all that work down the drain.
5 yards into the end zone, they'll take a knee. Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. As you might expect, it has been all Clemson. Wayne Gallman with a couple of touchdown runs early. That one, in two-hand touch, he scores.
Sharon Peak gets the assist there. Terrific block downfield.
And then short yardage situation, just follow that big, hungry offensive line. And then, of course, the passing game is working, too. What isn't working?
It's interesting. Dabo Swinney said, we haven't really had to throw it much this year. We've established a run when we didn't think we could against Louisville and against Notre Dame. But he says that's the strength of our offense. We just haven't had to uncork it much.
Toss to Lynch. Flag is down. This is going to be a hold against Marshall on the outside. Boulware and Green were in on the tackle for Clemson.
Boulware is a blast to watch, number 10 at linebacker. I'm talking to Brent Venables, who serves as the linebacker coach.
Face mask on the defense, number 85, 15 yards, first down.
Dane Rogers is called for grabbing the face mask. Right now, Doesn't it look to you like Clemson is listening to the calls for Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech is so limited because of all those injuries to the A-back position, the running back position. And there's so much speed on the field for Clemson on the edge that, yes, right now it feels like, oh, the option's coming this way. There's two guys standing there on every play.
Patrick Scove is number 7. He is in at the fullback position, or what they call the B-back. Transfer from Stanford has done a great job this year. Instead, they run it wide and finally get some running room with Mikel Lance-Davis.
The first real chunk yardage play on the edge for Landis-Davis. Excellent job by Justin Thomas. He avoids, and Georgia Tech got lucky. They didn't get a hold there on the left tackle, but avoids the inside charge, was able to get the pitch, and Landis-Davis, one of those true freshmen who's had to step in and play earlier than they expected for Georgia Tech.
Scove.
And what you have to realize now, if you're just tuning into this game, Georgia Tech does not have a 23-point down offense. This is not where they're going to get in a hurry up and sling it around. This is a very run-based offense that Paul Johnson brought down from the Naval Academy, the only Power 5 conference school that runs this type of offense, but they just don't have the personnel or the structure to do much more than continue to run the ball the way they are.
6-man front for Clemson. Scove only gets a couple of yards out of the dive.
Scove, of course, a graduate transfer from Stanford who was becoming a blocking fullback and knew it at Stanford, took advantage of the graduation rule, and now becoming a ball carrier at Georgia Tech.
Doc, he is taking full advantage of that senior rule.
Yeah, what a difference a transfer makes. 3 years at Stanford, he had 14 total carries. He had 12 for 72 yards in his first game ever as a Yellow Jacket.
And is probably sending tweets out to his Stanford teammates saying, I told you so.
Well, that's it. Tankersley and these corners now for Mackenzie Alexander. These are guys who you just put them out there and you're good. And here's a 4th down where Georgia Tech going for it here. This to me feels like Justin Thomas following the fullback. I think trying to get on the outside here or trying to throw is not the right call. Good aggressive call though.
4th and 4. Maybe trying to draw them off. That's exactly what they're doing. Of course, this is a pretty good sales job because Georgia Tech goes for it so often. But you can see Brent Venables on the sideline going, watch out for the hard count.
But why are you not going for it here? It's 4th and 3. You're down 26-3.
I'm with you.
You take the penalty and back up. Now you're going to punt. I understand that this is starting to feel like it gets away, but Paul Johnson, a guy who goes for it as much as any coach in the Power 5 division schools, deciding really strangely on the 40, inside the 40-yard line, 4th and 3, not to go for it, down 23.
Well, certainly sometimes it's easier up here than it is down there, but it's pretty obvious to us at least that Georgia Tech doesn't have a chance to stop Clemson. And this punt is straight up an elevator shaft and goes sideways. A 25-yard punt.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. And AT&T. Mobilizing your world.
That's the SO Club, a tradition down here. ESPN, the magazine, published. If they had a national championship for college sports bars, the SO Club would be our pick to win it all. It is a legendary place that's been here forever.
Earlier in my career, I spent a few nights in there. Of course, now we stay way out of town, no longer.
And you've got to make a road trip to get there.
Yeah, so that'll be safe.
Clemson back on offense, where they have been absolutely unstoppable. Sharon Peak makes another catch, and more on the offense. Here's Jerry Plunge.
Hey, guys, when Chad Morris left to become the head coach at SMU, it was a no-brainer for Dabo Swinney and what he was going to do in terms of promoting from within. That's because Jeff Scott and Tony Elliott had been delegated game planning duties a year ago by Chad Morris. Scott was deciding on pass plays, first and second down, and Tony Elliott was deciding on the run play. So Dabo simply promoted these guys who had been learning from the master and were battle-tested to become co-offensive coordinators.
And, Jerry, you're absolutely right about the master. Chad Morris took one of the most inept offenses we have ever seen and turned it around in 1 year where they can score on anybody. Still can't stop people, but they can score.
Talking about at SMU, where he moved on to. Boy, that's a tackle you don't want to see.
No.
Deshaun Watson taking at this stage of the game, a 26-3.
They were backed up because of a hole.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many more run calls I would have for number 4. I'd let him throw it. You know, we're not in blowout territory. Keep the whole offense. But the way he's throwing it right now, the timing he has, I wouldn't want to see him carrying it being tackled from behind like that in a game like this.
Morris.
He just looks, I mean,
at least that time there was a little bit of coverage on the completion to Artavis Scott, and that was Chris Milton.
Deshaun Watson, you mentioned it. He really does throw a nice ball. He has all the arm in the world. He can throw a heater if he needs to. But you're right. His timing's good, though. If your timing and your feet and your accuracy are there, you don't have to burn it. You don't have to throw it hot. And we saw that last week with Cardale Jones. He'll throw it in so hard, and it'll be off by a foot. Guy can't catch it. You throw a little softer, you're off by a foot. Guy catches it.
Great point. That's the first bad throw he's made. At the feet of Stanton Seckinger, the backup tight end. DJ White was out there on the coverage, but that ball was uncatchable. Last season against Georgia Tech, quite a different story for this offense, and they're going to have to send on the punter.
Well, last year, of course, Deshaun Watson went down in the first quarter, and Cole Stout, who had been injured through the middle of the season, a lot of people didn't know that, came in, wasn't really sharp, but the whole team wasn't great after Watson went down. But, boy, they really turned things around the next week. They beat UNC, played really well, and then Cole Stout, by the end of the season, just playing great.
Teasdall, great punt to Golden, who was swarmed under. And this kid is a tremendous kick returner. 2 years ago, before he got hurt, he was the only one in the country in the top 10 in both punt returns and kick return. Tomorrow morning, ESPN will get you ready for your NFL Sunday at 10 Eastern. NFL Insiders update you on all the latest injury news. Then Sunday NFL Countdown with Boomer and the Boys gives you Week 5 previews and in-depth analysis right up to kickoff. Starts tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Get all that last-minute fantasy information. Fullback dive play to Marcus Marshall.
That's the first one we've seen in that inside run, that fullback B-back, they call it, get down the field, but an excellent job by T.J. Green, the safety. If it breaks through, that's why the safety's there. Good tackle by 15, good handoff by Thomas.
Now, some people who would be sitting at home unfamiliar with this option offense may be thinking, well, gee, why don't they do something else? This is their offense. They are not going to do something else.
And I think, again, last year, Paul Johnson and Georgia Tech coming into the season didn't have very high expectations. They end up having a terrific season, going to the Orange Bowl with Florida State, of course, going into the college football playoff. They bumped into the Orange Bowl. A great win against Mississippi State. Justin Thomas was the MVP of that game. But now you see where a place like Georgia Tech, and a lot of places when you have this many injuries that they've had on offense, they start to fall behind a team like Clemson athletically very quickly after their first string.
Marshall is the deep man in the backfield. Lance Davis is in. Looks like Griffin was also in. And they try to get the edge, and they have simply been unable to get the edge against the speed of this Clemson defense.
J-Ron Kearse, it's a little unfair. This guy is 6'5", 215 pounds. He's basically an outside linebacker playing free safety. You know what he did well there? He didn't have wasted steps. He read it, he froze, he knows he's athletic enough to cut. He forced the quarterback to not only pitch it, but then had the athletic ability to go make the tackle. guy who had a little bit of a tough fourth quarter, gave up a couple of long throws, but a forced fumble against Notre Dame was huge on the 2-yard line last Saturday night for Curse.
3rd and very long for Thomas. And Georgia Tech will have to spend a timeout.
How many times have you seen that for a defensive player? The best thing they can do is just stop and look. It's so hard for someone like Curse to do that, but that was excellent technique.
Got a timeout when we come back. 3rd and 12. Welcome back to Clemson. Now for today's Aflac trivia question. Which head coach has the best winning percentage in Georgia Tech and Clemson history? And we'll give you an extra hint. Probably 10 other schools.
He did coach a lot of places.
I think every place that had football he coached. Curse, 4 tackles, 3 for loss so far. Fullback dive again with Marcus Marshall, the true freshman, 5'10", 209. And it's been about the only thing they've had any success with.
And here you go, sending your punt team out. You gotta stop on the last one after you kick, but you continue to kick away. And I think that Clemson, before this half is over, is going to be able to punch it in once, if not twice more. I'm not sure I'd want
to kick to Scott.
And remember, this has been an adventure.
And it's a fake. And they've got the first down out near the 50-yard line.
Terrific call that time.
Yes, it was. Yep. Chase Alford.
And Brant Mitchell, you usually have linebackers helping each other out. 51 throws a terrific block. Brant Mitchell throws a great block for his linebacker mate Alford, and that's a nice call by Paul Johnson. You punt that away, there's no way you can expect Clemson's going to flub it again on offense the way they've been playing, at quarterback especially.
Again, it's Marcus Marshall, nothing there this time. So I think Paul Johnson has thrown down the gauntlet now. We're going to do everything we have to do to try to get back in this game, and that includes trick plays and going for it on 4th down.
And he's in his system, and so like you mentioned, you tune in and you're like, why are they giving it to the fullback inside the line of scrimmage down by 23? But they have to do that to run the rest of their offense. This veer option, speed veer option, is based on that inside run to make sure the 2 defensive tackles and the middle linebacker play those gaps.
Thomas trying to hit one as Lynch wide open. And Lynch will walk in. 50 yards. And that's how this offense can get to you. One play of futility after another. And if you can get a receiver deep and get your quarterback to hit him, you can do it in one play.
And that was how Notre Dame started to chip away on that 21-3 lead for Clemson in the 4th quarter. It's Goodson, the linebacker, right there. He's got the running back as he comes out, Lynch. And Lynch is a guy who dropped a touchdown pass just like this last week against UNC. So a little bit of a turn of momentum here on a miss by the linebacker.
He was so wide open, you couldn't even tell who was supposed to cover him.
I think it was Goodson. That's who I think it was.
Lynch just outran everybody. They paid no attention to him, and Justin Thomas put it in his lap.
And we went back. We'll show you a look of it. I was saying it looked like B.J. Goodson should have been in coverage, but as we went back and looked at it again, it was what Brent Venables was saying. Our safeties have got to be able to read those wingbacks when they release. And if you watch Jaron Curse, he's the safety on this side, and this motion brings him up. The problem is he doesn't see the running back slip in. Goodson has to let him go. He's got underneath coverage, expecting Curse to be there, not the linebacker Goodson, and that was a misread, and that's exactly Brent Venables said you watch this team and you say, how do people get so open? Well, Kearse has been up near the line of scrimmage. You mentioned 3 tackles for loss so far for Kearse. So his job so far has been attack the line of scrimmage. Then they do a nice job, Georgia Tech, slipping out Lynch and get behind him.
Penalty flag before they had even lined up. Georgia Tech was late getting its defense.
5-yard penalty, first down.
I think the ball had been marked ready for play by the official, and Georgia Tech wasn't there.
And Paul Johnson kind of laughing, talking to someone upstairs. How in the world didn't we get them? But how about the last play? 50 yards to Lynch. Good call.
Almost doubled their total offense in the first half. Fake to Gallman. Watson throws it underneath. That was well covered. He threw it away.
Yeah, terrific job by the quarterback. We've seen Cardell Jones twice this year, he's just really struggled. And the kind of elite guys with names. This guy has it all. He really has a great feel for the game. He's got a terrific arm, good mechanics. Has a tendency to fall back some against pressure, but he'll get better with that. Only his second year in college ball.
He was the preseason conference player of the year. This time he's tripped up. Keyshawn Freeman, number 42.
Yeah, he wasn't happy there. Should have been a route coming back.
Freeman was a freshman All-American a year ago, playing defensive end at 240 pounds. 3rd and long for Clemson. Watson looks to the right, double pumps, now throws deep. And if anything, that is offensive interference. Chris Milton got in the way, but he's entitled to that space.
Yeah, Milton had great position. He did not buy. There was a stop and go by Ray McLeod, and Milton did an awesome job in coverage. That is not pass interference. He had position. And this is the guy, Milton, who had an interception return for a touchdown, one of 2 last year against Clemson to help in that big win down in Atlanta. But that was good position by Milton.
I don't know if you get the same feeling as I do right now that Clemson may be relaxing a little bit on offense. It's been so easy.
And they went real conservative in that heavy rain and could not convert 2 turnovers given to them by the defense in the 4th quarter against Notre Dame. But yet has that kind of feel like they were in command. And all of a sudden, Georgia Tech can cut this potentially to a 1-score game.
And I think it's just human nature when things are so easy to ease up a little bit. Now for the answer to our Aflac trivia question, which head coach has the best winning percentage in both Georgia Tech and Clemson history? Well, of course, is John Heisman, who coached at Tech from 1904 to 1918. Before that, he was the coach at Clemson. And, of course, the trophy is named after him. And almost every school we go to, you look in the book, John Heisman was the head coach.
He lived for 300 years.
Little option look from Justin Thomas.
Well, the only way they're going to get back in Georgia Tech is they're going to need to break Thomas free on this option. Right now, the only thing that's worked has been a few of those inside run plays. It seems like nothing except one late pitch where Thomas did a great job avoiding the wash at the line of scrimmage. But if they can't get on the edge, and with guys as long and as athletic as Kearse out there making it more difficult, not sure they can overcome this.
Because they're A-backs, otherwise the wing-backs don't appear to have the speed to get outside on Clemson. Thomas trying to get outside and does. Across the 30's got enough to get the first down, being trailed by Shaq Lawson. And Lawson is a fascinating guy because he played behind the All-American Vic Beasley, who was a high draft choice, went number 8 in the draft to the Falcons. But Shaq Lawson actually had more tackles than Beasley did.
Lawson, a guy who played terrifically last week against what is supposed to be one of the top picks in the NFL draft at left tackle for Notre Dame.
Yes.
It's just worked and worked and worked and had a terrific game. Let's watch Thomas. He looked still looks a little not 100% as he's walking around.
Back to throw under pressure. Got away from one, but Lawson will bring him down. Kevin Dodd made him scramble, and Lawson got him. That's now 3.5 sacks for Lawson. He leads defensive line in tackles.
I know that they lost a lot of guys on defense. It sure doesn't look like they lost a lot of guys off of the #1 defense last year. These are big, powerful men up front, and this is not what Georgia Tech wants to be having to do, is trying to pass block Kevin Dodd out in space. It's just not their strength.
They have athletes galore. Quarterback draw, Thomas. The one thing Brent Venables said about this defense is there's tremendous chemistry with these kids, and they trust each other, and they listen to him.
And you think about when Venables came in, we had him that first season. 2012, they went to the bowl game against West Virginia and against West Virginia in the Orange Bowl, gave up 70 points. Venables came in the next year, and defensively, the place was lost. He said we had a lot of guys who didn't even know how to read the zone option properly, and they had to start retraining and rebuilding. Of course, they've done an amazing job recruiting, but they have built what is starting to look like a defensive factory.
And when he came here that first year, you could see the pressure written on his face.
They had all the offense they needed. The defense needed to be entirely rebuilt. Brent Venables had left a terrific job at Oklahoma, was given an opportunity to come here and build his own thing. Wasn't sure if he even wanted to do it. And he got here. We met with him. He looked like, whoa, I don't want this job. Now, feeling a little better about
looks pretty good.
Choice, yeah.
Now we'll take a look at this week's AP rankings, brought to you by Goodyear. Ohio State struggled early, as they have all year, and then accelerated at the end to knock off Maryland. TCU plays at Kansas State. Baylor at Kansas. That was a walkover for Baylor. Utah and Cal tonight on ESPN. That should be a very interesting ball game. And LSU with the early lead over South Carolina. That game had to be moved from Columbia, the beleaguered capital city. Watson under pressure. Both defensive ends all over.
And really, if you're Georgia Tech, let the play clock on the play before run all the way down. Clemson didn't want to use their very last timeout. Now you call a pass play, and you throw it out of bounds. Nice job by Shaq Lawson. Now you're giving the ball back to Clemson. Minute 47, a little bit less after the punt, but because you decide to try to drop back, it's just not working. They're not able to block these guys, so now you don't. Clemson doesn't have to use the timeout. They've got the timeout, and they're going to have plenty of time left.
They're not even slowing down Lawson and Dodd.
And Johnson talking to his quarterback about, the poor guy turns around and there's three people wearing 90 and above standing in his face. And now, because Clemson didn't have to use that timeout, and I think rightly didn't use it on the third down when Georgia Tech let it go down, they've got all the time in the world.
Let's check in with Cassidy.
Mike, Taco Bell studio update. Notre Dame looking to bounce back from their loss to Clemson, and this will help. Deshaun Kaiser to Will Fuller. A 30-yard touchdown, 21-7 over the 4-0 midshipmen right now. Mike, Ed, back to you.
Cassidy, thanks very much. We have a minute 36 to go here. Watson under pressure. Gets away and throws. That ball hits the ground and is incomplete.
It's a terrific opportunity for Clemson to get a repetition of the end-of-half, end-of-game offense. You got a timeout, minute 30, always doing this drill. Usually by the end of the week, you're running this 2 or 3 times. Learning how to manage the clock when you use that last timeout. Oh, you got to get out of bounds there. It's a freshman, Deion Kane, a true freshman who was a high school quarterback. So for the first time playing receiver, no reason to go for an extra yard there. You just got to get out of bounds. This is a lot of clock burning for a freshman mistake.
Third down, call it 2. Watson with the quick out. He's got the first down to Kane again.
And now you got to go. Kane has got to, someone's got to tell Kane, oh boy, you've got a hit there.
There's the late hit after they blew the whistle.
Jake
looked like
Morgan.
Gamble.
And it's Jake Morgan, who was another true freshman getting some play.
After the play, personal foul, 91 defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, you don't want to give the help. The clock is starting to burn a little bit. They're going to have to rush. Patrick Gamble just back, had a concussion 2 weeks ago. Morgan going a little. You can't do that. Yeah, you just can't do that far after the play. And what Morgan did wasn't that egregious.
No.
You got to let that one go.
Yeah, let it go.
Yeah. But somebody's got to get to Kane, the true freshman receiver, and say, hey, getting out of bounds is a little more important than that extra 2 yards.
Blitz coming. They don't get there on the post, and there's interference. Lawrence Austin knew he was beaten and figured his only chance was to make a tackle.
On the defense, number 20, 15-yard penalty, first down.
So 15-yarders back-to-back.
And Deshaun Watson just took a monster hit as he let this ball go. Clean. It was early in the midsection. That's Adam Gotsis. And you're right. Austin knew it. You might as well take the guy. If anything, if I were Ted Roof, I'd say, hey, next time, tackle him a little more cleanly. You let him stay on his feet too long. But Renfro, a walk-on redshirt freshman who is becoming a machine, just always seems open, has great feeling for routes and space. Can't blame Austin for the takedown.
Boy, Gotsis has had a heck of a game. He's not getting a lot of help. Nice move. Watson taken out near the 17-yard line. 40 seconds to go in the half.
Gotsis lined up over Jay Guillermo. Just a good, quick move. Gets right by Tyrone Crowder, one of the new guys up front, who's had a little bit of struggles learning the speed of the game. Big, powerful man, but Gotsis slips right by him there.
Zach Brooks, the running back. Delay. Brooks.
I think you got to think about a timeout here if you're Clemson. Watch this clock at 33. Now you've got third down. Watch this clock. You don't want to blow this. And now you've got to hold it for the defense to change. It's a lot of clock. This is 2 or 3 plays they're losing by not using that timeout.
Brooks again. Inside the 10. The clock will stop as they move the chains. 14 seconds on the second quarter clock.
Well, you still have a timeout, so you can run it on this series of downs. Good. So you clock it there. And because you lost that time, you're down to maybe 2 plays. I think you can maybe throw a fade. Of course, you don't have, no, they killed the clock on first down. Could have used that timeout before. You still have, if you're Clemson, you still have the timeout. So you can do a running play, but you have to be careful. The guy gets bounced around and too much time runs off. You can do it with that timeout, but be shocked if we don't see 2 quick throws in a row by Clemson.
Receivers are bunched on the right. Watson looks that way and then throws a post. Poor pass. Got some pressure from Rook Chungan.
And now you're sitting here at 3rd and goal. We take a look at Jeff Scott, the co-offensive coordinator, wide receiver coach. Luckily, I think, for Clemson, that was incomplete because I think you're down to the 2. And now you have time for 2 plays. So 3rd down, 4th down. And I think at this point, you're probably going to kick the field goal if you don't convert here if you're Clemson to get ahead. 3 scores for sure.
Tech blitzes. Touchdown Leggett. Perfect throw and a nice route by Leggett. His second touchdown catch of the day beat Corey Griffin, the sophomore safety. That's a tough matchup for a 6'2 safety.
5 rushers come, offensive line at least picking it up, not doing the greatest job. Watson has to fall back a little bit. But that just looks easy right now. Remember, a safety, Damon Smith, down starter for Georgia Tech. So his backup, Corey Griffin, in there, struggling a bit against Leggett, who's just a fantastic-looking receiving tight end.
So Clemson gets the late touchdown to go up 33-10. And the Tigers looking like the 6th-ranked team in the country. Week 5 edition of Monday Night Football at 8:15 Eastern on ESPN. Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers against Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. Coverage starts Monday Night Countdown at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN. Mike Tirico and John Bruton will do their weekly fantastic job on Monday Night Football. Well, they told us they needed to find ways to get Leggett more involved. 2 touchdowns in the first half is
Check.
more involved.
Check.
Yes, on to the next item.
And let's see how many. We start to see some depth, I would assume, for Clemson rolling. And they always do play a lot of guys. Defensively, they always play a lot of specialists. But unfortunately for Paul Johnson, he doesn't have a lot of guys, especially in the offensive backfield, he can roll in.
Only 4 seconds on the clock, so they'll squib it. Touches the Georgia Tech player, and they say only 1 second went off the clock before it was down.
You're Paul Johnson. The thing you have to sell at halftime, we've gotten 1 turnover. What if we get 2 in the second half? What if we get 3? You're going to have to sell something to this team to keep them focused. And I don't like the smirk on your face right now because he's got to try.
It's Georgia Tech. You're talking to a bunch of smart kids, and you go in and tell them, hey, look, let's pretend it's nothing at the half.
If sports is anything, it is a lesson of life of how to stand up against huge odds.
Yeah. Go sell that somewhere where they're buying it.
Well, Paul, that's what if you're Paul Johnson, you got to sell something.
And coaches are really good at that, aren't they? Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Coach, in spite of the rain and everything they're dealing with, your offense playing pretty well. What pleases you most about the play of your offense in the first half?
Well, we've just been businesslike. We're taking care of the ball. We're running the ball effectively. We came right out of the gate with a great long run. They're on 3rd down. We're throwing and catching the ball very well in this weather. Outside of the one big play touchdown on our defense, we've played very sound. And that's what you got to do against these guys. You got to maximize your opportunities and win that field position battle.
Double-digit leads against Louisville and Notre Dame when you let them back in the football game. How concerned are you about that happening in the second half?
Well, I'm just worried about, trying to beat Georgia Tech. For us, I say it all the time, nothing less important than score at halftime. We got a 0-0 game. That's got to be our mentality, and that's where we got to grow up as a team. We've got to put people away when we have the opportunity to do that.
Hey, thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Dabo. When we come back to studio, we'll bring you up to date on everything at halftime in college football after these messages.
Please welcome to the field.
The ACC on ESPN. Welcome back to Clemson. Let's take a look at our halftime double check brought to you by State Farm, and it's 33-10 after 2 quarters. The only big play Georgia Tech had in the entire first half was that long 50-yard pass. But other than that, their offense has done nothing. Their defense has done nothing. Not a good combination.
No, and they're going to need some turnovers or something to happen in the kick game for them to get back into it. But for Clemson, what's been really impressive, #1 defense in the country last year. They returned 1 starter from that group, a bunch of guys who played a lot. And as we take a look at our AT&T Strong performance after the kick, we'll show you how well they have played on the defensive line. We'll take a look now at the AT&T Strong performance. And Carlos Watkins is the middle of the defensive line that has to defeat the block and then be able to come off and be athletic enough to make a play on the ball. Watkins, of course, made the stop on the 2-point conversion against Notre Dame that won the game. And then Scott Pagano does an excellent job getting outside his block, gets the first hit on the lead fullback for almost no gain. And then whenever Georgia Tech decides they have to pass, you mentioned how good Clemson is at the defensive end spot there. Justin Thomas having to run for his life when they did try to throw it.
Quarterback keeper. And another negative play. Dorian O'Daniel, a sophomore, just wouldn't let him go. And we'll go to Cassidy Hubbard to the studio. I'm sorry. Jerry Punch at the sideline. Excuse me, Doc.
Yeah, close. Wait, Paul Johnson. Guys, Paul Johnson said going into halftime, he said, and I quote, "We are a self-destructing mess." When he came out, he said, "We did not run a play correctly in our first 3 series. We just got to run correct plays, and we'll have a shot."
Well, Doc, that's a heck of a way to describe it. In the first play of the second half, it's just more of the same. Skov is the deep man, and on the second play of the half, they've got to burn a timeout. That's about as bad as it gets.
Bunch of new guys in the backfield. There's so much misdirection. There's so many things that you have to know.
Paul is not happy.
Yeah. He's laying into his senior Patrick Skov, the transfer from Stanford. At this point, I'm not sure with things going sideways, raising your voice and yelling at guys is going to get them motivated. But tough coaching, even though they're down 23.
Jerry, what do you think he's telling his kids?
You know, when he came out, Mike, he looked at me and he just seemed so frustrated. He said, I can't explain it, Doc. He said, we're lining up. We're not blocking correctly. We're not executing. And this offense we run is all about execution and misdirection and option. He said, we're just not running a correct play. He said, I've never seen this before, and I don't know how to explain it. He said, hopefully we can run some correct plays, but we got to get lined up correctly. And obviously we saw right there that wasn't the case.
And, Jerry, it's a tremendous explanation because this offense is all about execution. More so than any other offense there is.
Timing. Timing at a high speed.
Marshall swarmed under. You've got to give credit to this Clemson defense. They have been up to, except for the one play, they have been up to every challenge they've faced.
And that one play, which was Watkins, the safety, who's played brilliantly today, was what Brent Venables said was fun about coming in Monday after Notre Dame. You come in with a win, a huge win, and there were so many things they could correct because they were really just mental breakdowns in the secondary at the linebacker level in the throw game. But he said it's always easier to coach hard after a win than a loss.
And coaches just love stuff to correct. Crowd really into it. Fullback dive only gets minimal yardage. Bulware and Pagano were in on the tackle again. You know, there was such a big deal made of Carlos Watkins' play last week against Notre Dame, and rightfully so. But because it was a point after, he didn't even get credit for a tackle, statistically.
No defensive stats, yeah. Well, we'll take a look at the first half of Deshaun Watson. This time, it's a triple option. He can hand it off, throw it, or run it. He went to throw it, but the coverage was there. He's such a good, gifted runner that he's able to pick up 9. And his accuracy, when he gets going, and you noticed it earlier, Mike, he just has the ability to put touch on the ball. His accuracy, his timing. Had a couple throws he threw in the dirt because guys weren't open. There was too many people around. Just had a sensational first half.
He is just a wonderful talent. Boy, Gallman, nice hard run. And the coaches, one of the first things they said, he gets every inch that he possibly can. He just runs so hard.
We saw him last year. We did the Georgia Tech game where, unfortunately, Deshaun Watson was hurt in that first quarter, but Gallman ended up having a pretty nice game. He was a true freshman that you'd mentioned. Zach Brooks went down before the season last year, had to step up, and has a ton of confidence now. Over 100 yards against Louisville, 100 yards, over 100 yards against Notre Dame.
Watson changing the play so Gallman could pick up the blitzer. Very heady call by the quarterback. Made sure Gallman was on his left because he saw it coming. Gallman was right there, got the block.
Jerron Peak not able to go up and make a play. Last week there was an interception where they felt like Peak could have made a better play on the ball, but that was terrific coverage by DJ White. And Peak with the longer arms, 6'4", able to go over. DJ White had terrific position on that play.
Blitz coming. They get there, but Watson gets away, and now he's buried. Caught by Tyler McCourtis. The blitz came from sophomore Lawrence Austin, and he blew right by the quarterback.
This is Just an excellent job by Watson. Unblocked guy. Gallman and the right guard, Tyrone Crowder, went to block the same guy. Miscommunication there in the middle. Good follow-through by Marquardt, excuse me.
Teasdall is on to kick. Golden is deep. Not a lot of hang time, but a fair catch made by Teasdall back at the 22-yard line. A 40-yard punt, no return, and it has been all Clemson. You're out running around on a college football Saturday. Don't miss any of the action while you're on the go. You can stream any game live. Download the Watch ESPN app or go to watchespn.com. You have to run errands on a Saturday afternoon. You need to have a conversation with your significant other. Dive play gets not much for Marcus Allen, 220-pound junior. It's good to point out again how many injuries they have had to what they refer to as their A-backs. Those are the guys on the wing, the guys they count on the outside speed to run the sweeps and the big plays. They've lost 7 A-backs.
And that's why there's confusion, a bunch of young guys who haven't had to do much. And that felt like it needed to be a bigger run there. Marcus Allen looks like he had a good head of steam and got caught up with his feet right at the line of scrimmage. We've only seen the one long throw to Lynch here, 3rd and 5. Maybe this is somewhere where you try to sneak one of those A-backs out and see if the safeties for Clemson, no safeties deep for Clemson now.
Everybody within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. 11 guys within 5 yards. And they run a dive play.
If I'm a Georgia Tech fan, and last year was a magical year, and you can't take away what they did last year, but this would be a little frustrating for me to say, we're at a major university that has won a national championship, and that's the offense we're running on 3rd down by 23. It's got to be a little frustrating. You're going to be in this position, and the offense that Paul Johnson sticks to and runs just doesn't give you the opportunity. I mean, that's a fullback dive on 3rd and 5 down 23. You can see where if you're a Tech fan.
Georgia Tech's going to say that it hit Scott, the return man, but it did not. And it's a kick of 36. We'll check in with Dr. Punch.
Guys, it's now time for the bright side, brought to you by CarMax. After last Saturday night's big win over Notre Dame, it was 2 o'clock in the morning when Clemson offensive line coach Robbie Caldwell left the office and headed home. Now, on his way home, he stopped at a convenience store to buy gas, and he saw 2 stranded Notre Dame fans who were soaking wet from walking in the rain. They told him that they had missed the shuttle on the way back to their hotel some 10 miles away, and they actually needed a ride home. Caldwell said, "You're not going to walk in the rain. Hop in my truck. I will take you home." They thought he was just a nice man wearing a Clemson hat. When they Googled later, they realized he was one of the premier offensive line coaches in the country. Folks, remember, coaches are supposed to be leaders, mentors, and role models. Robbie Caldwell is all that and more.
Jerry, that's a wonderful story, and what a job he has done as a coach, not just a human being, but as a coach, as Gallman plunges straight forward with this offensive line that today has no returning starters in it because Ryan Norton, their center who was coming back, is injured. So they have 5 guys that did not start a year ago, and we've got a Georgia Tech injury. Somebody got drilled on that last play.
And that's Corey Griffin. He's laid out on the field, and they've already lost. Georgia Tech's already lost to Mon Smith. He did move his leg. We want to report that Griffin did just pick his leg up, so that leg was flat. He did just pick it up and moving his head.
Well, we'll take a break, come back, check on his injury right after this. That's the
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by GMC. We are professional grade.
As I was saying, that is the Bob Campbell Geology Museum. Has more than 10,000 items, rocks, minerals, fossils, carvings, gemstones, and artifacts. And I took geology from a gentleman named Dr. Telecki, he was from Hungary, and he called the course Rocks and Minerals. We studied rocks and minerals for a semester.
Is Howard's rock a rock or a mineral, I wonder?
I believe it's a rock.
I believe it is, too.
Found in the Arizona desert, by the way, and given to Frank Howard as a gift. Initially, he didn't want it, didn't know what to do with it.
As a Californian, I'll correct you, it came from Death Valley in California. To Coach Howard's office. Before it was a doorstop. And there is Griffin. It was a right arm or shoulder injury. He wasn't moving for a while, I think maybe in a great deal of pain, but they were working on his right arm. Good clean tackle, but came in and Gallman got the better of him.
Blitz coming. Watson hangs in there, and it's intercepted. Picked off by the linebacker, Bryant Mitchell. 13-yard return. The second turnover for Georgia Tech. I said Bryant, it was Brant Mitchell.
Mitchell, the young man who has a nice block on that big punt earlier in the game, drops out, and Watson, looking to his left, never saw him come out of that drop. He stayed to his left, never surveyed the field. Mitchell does a wonderful job reading the quarterback eyes and going right underneath of it. That linebacker dropping off of the side you're not looking is usually the hardest for a quarterback to see.
Thomas, option toss. Nothing works outside. Dorian O'Daniel, number 6, who backs up Travis Blanks at that outside linebacker spot, has had a couple of big plays.
O'Daniel, a terrific athlete who got a bunch of run in last year's game against Georgia Tech because of some injuries. They're reading this so well. It's almost like the guys in orange could take the pitch. I mean, this has really not been a good day for Georgia Tech on the edge. Clemson clearly not just athletically better, but they've been coached up. This is a really good group Brent Venables has on the field.
And the defensive coaches did a remarkable job getting them ready for this game. They are reading their keys. They are able to get outside. This option attack.
And Justin Thomas, again, a little slow to get up.
And this is a numbers game on defense. The offense is trying to get a numbers advantage to one side or another, and Clemson is not letting them do it.
Well, they're able to play all one-on-one on the outside, so they have 9 guys committed to the line of scrimmage. And right now, Justin Thomas does not look 100% healthy. He's been early. We saw him a little banged up. It looks like maybe his left leg, but he does not look like himself on the field right now.
3rd and long, under pressure. Didn't have a chance. Goes down at the 40. Kevin Dodd now with 4.5 sacks on the year. This is a kid who they said had very few reps before this year because he was playing behind outstanding players. But Brent Venables said he stayed engaged. He never got down, never sulked, just kept his head in the game.
And as Justin Thomas, after that terrific sack by Dodd, limped off, an offensive lineman, number 75, that's Aaron Joe, the starting right tackle, grabbing his left arm. So things going from bad to worse. We've already mentioned Georgia Tech has lost 7 players from the running back position since last spring. Now they've got a quarterback who looks like he's not 100%, and an offensive lineman.
How about this stat, Ed? 33 rushes for Georgia Tech. 8 have been for loss. 8 of 33.
The edge, the perimeter run game, getting outside the offensive tackle on the option is essential. And I don't remember one play where they got the edge today where there wasn't 2 people from Clemson standing there. And now, unfortunately for Paul Johnson, what has been the best quarterback he's had in his time here at Georgia Tech, not looking 100%. You feel bad for these young men. They came into the season after such a great year. Thomas was the MVP of the Orange Bowl. Injury after injury after injury, and now things starting to go even more sideways.
Another high, short kick to the 30-yard line, and Clemson will take over from there. Only a 30-yard boot. Let's go to Cassidy.
All right, Mike, got a weekly reminder just how good Leonard Fournette is. He tells South Carolina D goodbye. 87-yard touchdown, which puts him over 1,000 yards rushing in just 4.5 games. 158 yards so far in this game for Fournette. Mike, Ed.
Cassidy, this kid is just an absolute beast. He's bigger than everybody, and he's faster than everybody.
That's unbelievable.
Gallman breaks the tackle. Pushed up to near midfield.
This guy can really run. I know that they have some nitpicks as coaches wanting his pads down, etc., but he runs with a purpose. He's a big guy, really good vision. He sees the hole really well, has good top end speed. This is the guy who can carry it 30, 40 times if you had to. You don't need to in this offense, but averaging 10 yards a carry will work.
Before this carry, had 119 yards on 12 carries. Caught up in the backfield. He's going to lose a few on this one. There's Georgia Tech swarming Mark Cordes, the one who pinned him at the sideline.
Georgia Tech doing their Clemson impersonation on defense.
Yes,
More guys than they had on the edge to block.
This is such a young Georgia Tech team on both sides of the ball. Watson so calm. Flanker screen, and breaking away is Kane. Deion Kane. Watson is just so cool.
Yeah, this play takes a long time to develop. Kane, a former high school quarterback, just figuring this out. Terrific block on the outside. And let's see, missed tackle by Simmons. Let's see who made that tackle. Looked like he fell down.
Clemson with another burst, and they take Gallman out, and Zach Brooks will run 35 for a touchdown. How many weapons do you need?
Well, if you want to go play for the national championship, you may need them all.
Well, they've got them.
You know, as crazy as it sounds, as you start to look at this team, we've seen Ohio State twice this year.
Yep.
Clemson would play nose for nose with Ohio State from what we've seen. I think Clemson has a better quarterback. I think they have a more diverse, explosive offense. I think Ohio State may be a little better defensively right now, but this is becoming a very good group for Clemson. When you look at this schedule through the ACC, I think they're better than Florida State potentially, and I think they could beat everybody else on the rest of their schedule. This is a team you have to start thinking about in the Final Four at the end of the season.
And it's a long way to go, but I think they're staring undefeated in the face. This guy's in shape. He may be tested. I mean, that's 40.
Yeah, he thought when Chad Morris left as the offensive coordinator, he'd catch a break, but unfortunately, Chad had done a nice job of training his replacements, and Clemson able to promote from within and not miss a beat offensively. Of course, helps to have Deshaun Watson at quarterback.
Marshall on the return for Georgia Tech. Nothing going right for the Jackets. Tonight on ABC, Saturday Night Football, presented by Wells Fargo. Number 12, Florida State. Cross-state rival Miami, 8 Eastern on ABC. Seminoles have won the last 5 against Miami. And this is setting up what could be, if Florida State wins tonight, an unbeaten meeting between Clemson and Florida State. And the Seminoles have had the Tigers' number.
Well, last year, just a gut-wrenching loss at Florida State for Clemson. They got the ball back inside a minute and a half, fumbled it.
Boy, Justin Thomas on a keeper. And he just had absolutely nowhere to go. Goodson made the tackle. Jerry Punch with an injury update.
Yeah, the walking wounded continue for Georgia Tech. Big right tackle Aaron Joe taken to the locker room with a shoulder. We are told he is done for the day. And defensively, Corey Griffin, the strong safety, came to the sideline after getting that helmet-to-helmet hit. Had a neuro evaluation. They have pulled his helmet from him. He will not be back this afternoon.
Just goes from bad to worse, doesn't it, Doc? 2nd and 10 as they overload the left side with motion. Pass underneath to June, and he will make the catch. Takes it up around the 40-yard line. Madrid Tankersley on the tackle, 23 yards.
And there you see the arm of Justin Thomas. We saw him last year when he had Darren Waller and DeAndre Smelter, 2 wide receivers who were then drafted into the NFL. He really can throw it. He's got a good arm.
He can.
He's 5'10"-ish, so pretty short to be able to see. But if he can get some space, he can throw it. It's just not what their base offense is. He does have a really nice arm and can be very accurate.
What's Russell Wilson, 5'10"?
5'11".
Well, look at this defense.
Dorian O'Daniel, last year as a freshman, had to step up and play, was the player of the game for Clemson. But this is the second time that they've run a pitch to that side, and O'Daniel's standing there ready to take it. I mean, Thomas almost pitches it. If he does, number 6 is taking it. No. A lot of good answers for Brent Venables today. Because of DJ Reader, we mentioned the good defensive tackle who's away from the team, taking a break for personal reasons. He said, can we defend inside? Can we end it? They're not going to get bored calling the option. Can we keep defending it? And they haven't.
Tipped and incomplete. And let's go back to how hard it is to defend this offense. This offense is run by teams that are undersized, but use this offense to equalize everything. You've got to be so good every play, every single play to stop this offense.
Well, we saw on the touchdown to the running back, the safety makes one wrong choice, thinking he's supposed to come up and defend the run. They run right by you. Unfortunately for Georgia Tech, they're out of guys that can get speed on the edge, and without that, if you can't get the option with speed and around guys like O'Daniel, you just don't have a chance.
Clemson comes on the blitz. Underneath pass. That one is complete. Caught by Lance Davis. T.J. Green with the tackle. And the last 2 times they've thrown, they've actually had receivers open.
And unfortunately, Justin Thomas he's just not healthy. Something happened early in the game. He looked uncomfortable. Was medically evaluated, and he just doesn't look like 100% himself.
He's just getting whacked, too. This one is wide.
He's gutting it out, doing everything he can. What I would be concerned about if I were Georgia Tech at this point, and if he just has a tweaked ankle, if you've retaped it, it's rare that you're going to injure it further. So I don't know that they're risking his health necessarily. But at some point, maybe you've got to think about getting Matthew Jordan, now your backup, with Tim Byerly out, to start to get some reps. You may need him later in the season.
Well, it certainly influences his ability to run. He has lost 5 yards when he's tried to hang on to the ball. And there is the base play for the option offense that has to give you something. If they cover the dive play, if they stop that, it's supposed to open up the outside. But because of the injuries, your lack of speed, you can't do that either. If you can't run inside, you can't run outside. What do you have left? You don't go to any shotgun for the quarterback, so he's got to take every snap under center.
That is, if you're going to run this triple option, veer type of speed option, it has its limitations, and we're seeing it right now.
Look at this. All the pressure they had. Tried to set up a screen, but it was a jailbreak. Chasing Thomas. Ben Boulware, number 10, was out there.
Well, trying to set up a screen. Pressure brought. Both linebackers come. But, boy, there's a lot of long arms. You know, you hear about coaches talk about in recruiting, we want to recruit long guys. That means they have long arms. Don't think about how tall a guy is. Does he have long arms? And every guy, it seems like, for Clemson seems to have a long wingspan, able to put them up. And 6'5" free safety, all their defensive linemen, 6'4", long arms. This is just a physically impressive-looking group.
This time only a 25-yard kick. Let's take a look at the remaining schedule for Clemson.
I think they're better than Boston College. They're better than Miami. They're better than NC State. I have not seen Florida State. They don't look like what they've been the last couple of years. I think defensively, Florida State has some real issues in their secondary. You can't have that against Clemson. They're better than Syracuse, better than Wake Forest, and this year better than South Carolina. This is a schedule, especially with the next 3 or 4 games, that I think they're just better than those teams. I think Miami will be competitive. But this is a defense that you're going to start getting in this game. You're going to start getting more development of your second string.
Offense, number 78, 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's left guard Eric McLean. Jerry Punch pointed out in our production meeting last night, Clemson has always had problems at NC State. And that's, that can be viewed as a stumbling block. But when you look at that schedule, you say if you can overcome the jinx that they've had against Florida State, you're looking at an undefeated season. And if they're undefeated, there's no way in the world they're not in the top 4.
Yeah, we actually flew to Dallas this week. The college football playoff.
Loose ball in the end zone. Scramble. Touchdown. The sun comes out, and Georgia Tech gets another break. The 3rd turnover in this ball game.
Looked like it was a decent snap. The backup looked like the Justin Falcinelli, the backup in. It was a little hot. It was thrown hard, but it looked like Deshaun Watson just missed that. And then the scramble for the ball ends up in a white jersey.
So Georgia Tech lines up for the point after to make it 40-17, and they knock it through. So about the only thing Georgia Tech has been able to do is capitalize on a couple of big plays. They certainly have not been able to move the ball consistently against Clemson, nor have they been able to stop them consistently. After tonight's Pac-12 showdown on ESPN, stick around for SportsCenter at night. Catch a full recap of the day in college football, as well as highlights from baseball's postseason. SportsCenter at night kicking off when Cal and Utah end on ESPN and streaming live on Watch ESPN. I just don't know if Cal has the defense to hang with Utah.
Not from what I've seen. Jared Goff starting to creep up as a NFL potential high draft pick quarterback, but I'm not sure the Pac-12 sending anybody to the playoff this year, though. I think that
doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I think that's going to end up being a 2-loss champion.
And they're not sure. Eating their own.
Yeah. And the good news for Clemson, with the way they're starting to gel, they get out of here with a win, which looks like they are in total control. But you mentioned if Clemson went undefeated and won the ACC, they'd be in. We went to Dallas this week and went through a mock playoff selection and learned the process. And, after learning that, I can guarantee if you win your conference and you're a Power 5, there's no way the committee's keeping you out.
Returned to about the 25-yard line by Ray McLeod.
And the way that they do, when you start looking at it, you start laying out. You lay out schedules for teams. You compare them week to week.
Right.
There's just no way you'd lay out Clemson and see that they beat a top 10 Notre Dame team. They will beat a top 15 at the time Florida State team. If Florida State continues to win, then they would have gone and played a championship game. They get credit for conference championships, and then undefeated. There's just no way Clemson's not playing for it all, or at least get in the semifinals.
Back to the ground game for Weimerskirch. I'm sorry, it's C.J. Jacobson. That's for Clemson. Davidson, who had 15 carries coming in. So that's the 3rd running back they've used. They started with Gallman, got Brooks in there. Now trying to give Davidson some reps. He had been the backup. Another carry off right tackle up near the 40-yard line.
And do you think there was any chance that Deshaun Watson is actually reading that zone read at this point?
One would hope not.
I have a hard time believing that that's not just a fake. That read down the line, I just don't know that they're going to be giving. Of course, he's got that Steve Fuller patch on his jersey there. That was retired number that He called Fuller and said, "Can I wear it?" And then Dabo Swinney said, "Sure, but let's put a patch on there. One of the greatest players in our history. We should at least honor him that he let you wear your high school number even though it was retired."
Well, he's doing it proud, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
End of the quarter. Clemson 40-17 over Georgia Tech. This presentation of college football from Death Valley will continue after this message and a word from our ABC station. Ed, I can't be sure I'm a stranger in town, but I think that's the sun.
Yeah, for the state of South Carolina, it has been a tough 10 days, of course. Hurricane Joaquin made it awful in this state last week. A disaster down further south in the state. And it's been raining here today. And here's one thing Clemson can be proud of after a just downpour against Notre Dame for 4 quarters and now rain again for 3 quarters. This field, this natural grass field, it looks like it's ready for another 4 quarters.
Back shoulder throw. Nice catch by Deion Kane. Beautiful throw by Watson. Can you imagine the drainage system they have under this field? This must be world class to survive what it has.
And not many schools have natural grass now. Everybody going to field turf. But Clemson has a wonderful natural surface.
This thing was playable in a monsoon. Flanker screen. Ray McLeod. And there is the sun. What a welcome thing for these folks. Although it was pretty yesterday. Chris Milton, the veteran corner, shaken up. It's all Georgia Tech needs is another veteran player injured.
This is becoming quickly, and not saying that Milton's going to have a long-term injury, but this is becoming ridiculous for Georgia Tech to a point where you start to wonder how they're going to hold it together down the stretch.
Really running out of veteran guys who can play. They were already playing 13 true freshmen. Brooke Chungan made the tackle on that last play for Georgia Tech.
I can't imagine that Deshaun Watson, if Clemson is able to score on this possession, that he's going to play much more. They're not a blowout. We're not completely in the clear here, so understandable that he's in, but I don't remember the last time they called his number running it, which seems like a wise choice.
McLeod. Well, I would advance this theory. If they're not in the clear right now, they're not going to be.
Yeah. Well, you're still early in the 4th quarter. And remember, this is a team against Clemson, against Louisville, and Notre Dame that took double-digit leads into the 4th quarter and nearly gave it back in both places. Took a miracle stop on a second down conversion, or excuse me, a 2-point conversion to not force overtime against Notre Dame.
Flanker screen. Thompson. Tripped up shy of the first down at the 25-yard line. DJ White saved the day. And Clemson will send on the field goal team.
And they're sending out Amon Lakip, the young man who was suspended for the first 3 games of the season for being arrested for DWI and drug possession. He lost his job to Hugel, but they send Lakip out, who was a starter last year.
Big moment for him, trying to get back into good graces of the coaching staff. The veteran kicker knocks it through. Clemson extends its lead to 43-17. Welcome back to Clemson. Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. Georgia Tech only with 142 yards in total offense. They have been dominated by the Clemson Tigers. And Clemson has racked up almost 4.5. Check into the studio with Cassidy Hubbard.
All right, Mike, Armstrong got a big win today. Could Butch Jones do the same? Josh Dobbs in with the 1-yard run. Game tied at 24 in the third. Got a close one in Knoxville. Mike, Ed, back to you.
Very, very big game for the home folks.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Georgia, Nick Chubb appears to have broken his leg. A terrific season coming to an end. Georgia has seen that happen at the running back position recently.
Thomas. Defense by the defensive end. Rodgers just wouldn't let him get outside until help arrived.
A lot of clean jerseys on this defense for Clemson. They just put in all the backups. Let's watch Brent Venables coach with some of these younger guys. Juergen comes in. Richard Juergen. Well, they still got to have Curse in. The 6'5" free safety, I think they still want around with all those tackles for loss, but they're getting a bunch of orange jerseys there. Some good play here. This is really good time for Clemson to develop some depth.
Fullback dive. Takes it up near the 40-yard line. That will be a first down for the Jackets.
And, of course, Georgia Tech and Clemson are in two opposite divisions in this conference, but this is a protected rivalry game. Clemson and Georgia Tech play every year, so for the Tigers, this is an opportunity to get some of those second and third string linemen and linebackers in to learn how to play against this type of offense for Georgia Tech, because they're going to see them next year up in Atlanta. Excuse me, down in Atlanta.
Yes, it is down.
If you're factually correct with the geography.
Little pitch, one of the few tosses they've actually been able to get outside, but it does them no good. Mackenzie Alexander, who is still in there with a great tackle. This kid is really good, and he knows he's really good.
Terrific practice habits, has always been an incredibly good worker. On balance, long arms. We've talked about the length of these players. This guy's a terrific corner. But Dabo Swinney last week, after he shut down Will Fuller, I mean completely shut down the explosive receiver from Notre Dame, Swinney did ask him to tone down the talk a little bit.
They only have 63 yards rushing. That's stunning. You saw the graphic. The last time it happened was against Miami, when Miami was great on defense. Pass complete to Lance Davis.
Davis
you
lost
can see when Thomas has time.
He can throw it.
Yes, he can.
We saw them last year, and Thomas, to me, was, of all, just as a player, he was the most exciting player I thought I saw all last season in the games that we covered. But here's a guy, he's gimping on his left ankle. They're down to third and fourth string running backs. They lost two receivers to the NFL draft. Summers was hurt for 2 games.
Toss, nothing doing. This is just remarkable to watch. And again, it was O'Daniel. This kid has been everywhere.
He's very athletic. They claim that he's under a 4.5 second 40-yard dash. For context, 4.5 40 is what you look for running backs and wide receivers. And here's a 230-pound linebacker, just a sophomore. He's played just... he's been in... I haven't seen him out of position on the edge play yet to his side.
Him and Curse. Alexander, both defensive ends. Thomas sets up as a man wide open, a strike to Ricky June, and he'll walk in. That's the second time the play action has held the entire secondary. First time it went for 50, this time it goes for 46.
Jaron Curse was the safety when they got Clinton, when Georgia Tech got Clinton Lynch free. It looked to me like Curse and the corner to that side, Alexander, got caught up and weren't sure who was supposed to go long to cover June. And if there is a weakness on this defense in the secondary, they have some blown coverages. There are some times where they let guys run free. It happened against Notre Dame, and C.J. Prosise had that long catch and touchdown run on the sideline. So there's plenty for them to clean up.
College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy. And Pacific Life. For life insurance, annuities, and investments, choose Pacific Life, the power to help you succeed.
This is the graveyard at Death Valley. When they beat a ranked team on the road, they get a new stone near the entrance to the practice fields. The last time was the Orange Bowl win over Ohio State.
They're going to keep having to get stones. Had stones built the way they are starting to build this program.
Well, there's a graveyard that you don't mind see filling up.
No. Dabo, I think, was thinking potentially onside kick. So he wanted to talk to his return team. But let's go back to the blown coverage. J-Ron Kearse running over there. McKenzie clearly allowing the receiver, June, to go by him. And watch Kearse he just saw a ghost. And that was the thing that Brent Venables said. We had to clean up. It was the fourth quarter. We had a couple of blown coverages that really cost us against Notre Dame. And here's Venables going through, making sure that obviously Kearse and Alexander were playing two different defenses there. So need to figure out some things to clean up.
But you got a lot to work with to clean it up. Two passes went for 96 yards. The other 52 plays, they got a total of 120. That's what this offense can do, but their defense has given up 43.
And everyone, 10 guys up for Clemson, one guy at the 30, nobody deep, expecting an onside kick here.
That's
a good kick.
Instead. Yes, it is. Rolls all the way inside the 5 and now down to the 3. Artavius Scott didn't really know what to do with it and pounced on it. Let's go to Dr. Punch.
Guys, this past summer, Dabo Swinney's dad, Ervil, was battling cancer. But he kept telling Dabo he was very excited about this year, and especially the Notre Dame game. Unfortunately, his dad passed away on August 8th. And at the funeral, Dabo was asked, hey, would you like a thumbprint from your dad to put on a necklace to remember him by? He said, sure. He had forgotten all about it. Last Friday, when he was on his way to the office, his wife, Kathleen, said, Dabo, guess what just arrived in the mail? Your dad's thumbprint. So at the end of the Notre Dame game last week, when Dabo was down on both knees and looking up at the sky, he said not only was he giving thanks, he was thinking about the spirit of his dad, the spirit that helped him beat Notre Dame, and the spirit that will make this a very special season for the Tigers.
He'll always remember that moment. You know that. Great story, Jerry.
Well, and you're now able to start working on some depth. Nick Schuessler, a deceptive runner, not quite as explosive as Watson, but he was the guy who got all the spring reps. When they went through spring practice, all the first-team reps when Deshaun Watson was rehabbing the left knee injury that he had surgery on. So this is a guy who's had a lot of reps with this group, the offensive line, the receivers, starting to get some backups. Good work here.
Don't want to make a mistake down here. Blitz coming.
Yeah, you're up. You're up 19. You're feeling okay, but you're not feeling like you would if you were up 25. 3 touchdowns, a mistake here could become 2. And without Watson in there, just the handoff game begins. What a terrific day by him.
Another nice day at the office, 265 passing, 16 on the ground.
It's hard to believe that this guy is just his second football season removed from high school.
Yeah.
Just has so much command, is a terrific athlete, starting to become a polished quarterback. Has a little ways to go there, but the guy's just in his 20th year, so he's got a long way to go.
Schuessler is a 6'3 junior, and Clemson has to burn another timeout.
Your second. 30-second timeout.
You can catch a doubleheader tonight on ESPN at 7 o'clock, college football primetime, presented by Hilton, as Arkansas goes against number 8 Alabama. The Tide's back in it, aren't they? Then at 10, a huge Pac-12 battle. Unbeaten's face-off, number 23 Cal, number 5 Utah. Both games on ESPN, also streaming live on Watch ESPN. I guess it's the times that we live in. Alabama loses the game, everybody writes them off. I guess we're not used to Alabama losing.
Yeah. It really was shocking how dominant they were, especially at the line of scrimmage against Georgia. The Heat turning up a little bit on Mark Richt, who has run a terrific program, runs it well, but if you're a Bulldog fan, you're starting to get a little tired of not being able to compete with the elite in your own league. And it is starting to feel like they're not quite at that elite level, especially after what they looked like against Alabama a week ago.
Schuster with the throw from his own end zone, airs it out. And caught. Deion Kane went up and got it at its high point for 36. Nice throw by Schuster, but a better catch.
And a terrific call, right? Because you've got third down. You don't want to do anything dangerous. Throw this to the boundary. The worst thing that you'd hope would happen with a guy of Kane's ability and size, even though he's a true freshman, is an incomplete pass. The coverage is pretty good by White, but this is a young guy in Kane they think has a tremendous upside. They've always had that taller receiver on the outside who could go up and get it. This guy was a quarterback in high school. And a really nice throw by Schuster. He put that right where it was needed, and I like the call by Tony Elliott.
DJ White never saw the ball playing a trail technique, reached up and tried to knock it away at the end, but couldn't do it. And C.J. Fuller, the redshirt freshman, getting a chance to run.
If they don't score, what are the chances Clemson gets burn out this clock the way they've been dominating? I mean, they're already just crossed midfield, and they're picking up chunks 4-5. But this is an offensive line. Now you're starting to get some offensive line getting some of your depth worked on. And this is really nice control by Tony Elliott. Tony right there in the middle. Just pulled off. They knew they got Deshaun Watson. He took some good hits last week. He had a great game running the ball. But they knew after last week's game that they couldn't run Watson all season long as much as they had against Notre Dame. They hadn't really won. That's Jeff Scott, the co-offensive coordinator. But they realized that was just too many runs over the course of the season. So when they got ahead today, they didn't call any more Watson runs. And that's a little different than what we saw. Chad Morris a lot of times would leave that quarterback run in, but looked like a nice adjustment today by Clemson, and now able to get some of these younger offensive linemen rolling through in a group that is starting to grow. If you look at how this offensive line played against Notre Dame last week, and Notre Dame, it can be really chaotic up front. They gained a lot of confidence.
Bryant comes in at quarterback. He is a dynamic runner. He's got enough for a first down. Checking with Cassidy Hubbard. Cassidy?
Mike, you guys were talking about that Georgia loss to Alabama last week. The Bulldogs on upset alert again. Josh Dobbs, third TD pass of the day. 28 unanswered points for the Vols. 31-24 to start the fourth.
Cassidy, thank you. Do those uniforms say Tennessee to you?
No, they don't. They say, let's sell some gear. New offensive line, they just did an entire change. They'd rotated a couple of guys in, but all the young guys now coming in. Look how clean those jerseys are.
Quarterback keeper again, and Bryant gets stuck at the line of scrimmage.
To be able to get reps for your second string offensive line in a situation where the defense knows you're going to run it, you're not going to try much except maybe a drop back pass like we saw. But you see right there Eric McLean, the left guard, coming out. So we have all young guys. That's Jake Frumorgan, one of the true freshmen that they got this year on the offensive line, one of the top recruits in the nation. Of course, we told the story of Robbie Caldwell last week, the offensive line coach, giving some rides to stranded Notre Dame fans after the game. But he's got to be awfully happy with how a group that was, by all estimations, the weakness of this team was the offensive line coming into the season. They have to be really happy with how they performed.
You know, what a feel-good story that was, and what a nice man he was to do that. Would he draw the line at South Carolina fans?
Maybe. Well, they got the win against South Carolina last year, so maybe not. But this is truly an impressive program that Dabo Swinney, remember, took over in 2008. His first game, he was named head coach on Monday. His first game was against Georgia Tech, which was a loss. That seems like such a long time ago. And
yes, it does.
He has really made this program his own. the hiring of Brent Venables, the guy there to his left with a big smile on his face, was just a really good change that Sweeney, he knew he needed to get better on defense, and they have.
Go for the bomb again, caught out of bounds. Thompson, they're going to say he was in. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's... Trevion Thompson, again, it's Schuessler right to the outside. Not a catch. That left, it was close. It was close that left foot was down. But it looks to me like the left foot. It's the left foot as it comes. Yeah, it's off the ground before he secures it and out of bounds. So upon review, be shocked if they do not overturn the call on the field.
They will take a look at this. We'll tell you who wins when we come back.
Well, the play stood. It was not confirmed, and as we went back and looked frame by frame, this was much closer than we originally thought. And it's this frame right there where it looks like the ball's in his hands. Not sure if he has control, but you can see the foot still down. And because it has to be indisputable video evidence, it is a little question there whether he had it. So because the call on the field was catch, you have to keep it. I don't think that was a catch. That's not good enough. That one frame there left you to believe, maybe he did catch it, so it had to stand.
Yep, the call on the field is all that counts. C.J. Fuller trying to get to the outside. Victor Alexander made the tackle. If they call it incomplete, they can't overturn it. If they call it complete, they can't overturn it.
And I give a lot of credit to the replay booth. That's what they're supposed to do. If it's not completely indisputable that it was incomplete, you have to let it stand as called. And I go back to the field officials. They're half a frame off sometimes. I mean, that was literally one half a frame.
True.
Where, did he catch it or not? Unbelievable how well they do in real time.
This drive has gone 88 yards so far. Fuller to the 6.
And here's where we were talking about the college football playoff. We were a bunch of colleagues from ESPN when we went to Dallas this week and went through a mock voting of the 2011 season. That's what we looked at, the year that Clemson had won the ACC championship. The amount of points that Clemson wins by right here won't be a factor. They've had control of this game. So when they go to study it, you don't have to blow people out by 30, 40 points. As long as you're in control of the game and they can go back and look that they controlled it all the way through, that's the credit you get as they look at the season and break it down.
That's where I think that part of it is a flaw. If you can honestly look at the score and somebody's running it up at the end, you can dismiss that.
Right.
You don't have to have a rule or we're not doing it this way or that way.
There's no rule. It's that what they talk about is that was a 17-point win where they were in control, and if they wanted to, and I'm saying, obviously this is 19 points. This is a 19-point win, even if they don't score here. But at any time, that could have been 40. If you really study the game, you know that 19 is not really 19 points. This game wasn't that competitive. And the committee does talk about that in a game-to-game scenario when they're looking at the top 4 especially.
4th and goal, Schuessler will try to run, and they'll stop him. And people will say, well, why did you try to score? Well, you run a play rather than kick a field goal because that's automatic and you're not running up the score. Got a timeout, only 21 seconds left here at Clemson.
Now it's time to take a look at today's Good Hands play, brought to you by Allstate. Well, how about the hands of Deshaun Watson? Just accurate, excellent touch on the ball, and he twice found Jordan Leggett, who, that's an awfully big guy who makes it look easy in space. But Deshaun Watson with terrific hand-eye coordination. He seems to have great touch on every throw, just a really emerging star.
Jordan on the carry. I feel like there's been an analyst coup up here in the booth. Now he's reading promo cards.
Do I get paid for those promo cards? Extra? No.
So that means you won't read one again.
Well, for both of these teams headed in different directions. For Clemson, a 13th straight home win ties the longest in school history, and just This is a team in Clemson coming into the year. There's no way with what they lost you could have said, this is a playoff team. But after seeing what they did against Notre Dame and how focused and good they played today, and we've seen Ohio State.
Yes.
This is a team you have to think about that could be standing at the end.
Yes. And you may not have been able to predict that they would be undefeated right now, but they are, and they're getting better, it seems, every week. And they are going to be a factor to deal with in that Florida State game looms so big now.
And let's hope for Justin Thomas and Georgia Tech. He's healthy. They're able to get Broderick Snoddy back from that. Let's hope they can get some of their guys back and salvage something out of this season.
Jerry Punch is down there somewhere with Dabo.
Yeah, we're with head coach Dabo Swinney. And Dabo, after last week's emotional win over Notre Dame, a lot of people thought your kids may not play well. What does this impressive performance say about your program?
We're 5-0, and that was our goal this week. You know, it's the same old thing for us each and every week. Proud of our guys. You know, it's about how we prepare. We don't get caught up in all that other stuff. I mean, every week it's a huge game. This is a great win for our team. And, you know, I don't know what the final stats are, but they couldn't run the ball, and that was the difference in the game. And then offensively, we flexed our muscles and showed some explosiveness tonight in the running game and passing game. So just proud of our team. You know, there was a lot of rhetoric that we wouldn't be ready to play or whatever, but, you know, we just do what we do.
You said this week that your team doesn't have to be good enough now to win a national title, just good enough to beat Georgia Tech. But at what point should the Tigers enter the conversation as a contender to win it all?
Well, I think we were in the conversation this summer. You know, we're in the conversation, but, you know, conversation don't win. You know, players showing up, making plays every week consistently, that's what wins. So we got a long way to go. We're happy to be 5-0. I'm happy for our fans. But, you know, we're just not even quite halfway home. So we'll just go back to work. Boston College be the biggest game of the year.
And congratulations. Go celebrate.
All right. Yeah, baby!
Jerry, thanks so much. Once again, our final score from Death Valley, 13 in a row for the Tigers. They beat Georgia Tech 43-24. Fred Cunningham, Jerry Punch, our entire crew, Mike Patrick. Thanks for watching. Let's go back to the studio.